Hello and welcome to Murphy's Garden, and we're now in the grips of winter. It's getting really cold, hence my loads and loads of layers. But winter is a good time of year to evaluate your garden and look at the structure and see what's working and what's not. I find it this time of year, with the days being so short, I go sometimes for a couple of weeks and I don't even step out into the garden. So sometimes the main emphasis of the garden looking good is what you can see from the windows in the house. You need really strong structure, and when the exuberance of the perennial borders is gone, it's a good chance to see what you're left with. Look at the garden in its bare bones and to see perhaps it needs a little bit more height, or it needs a little bit more structure. So for me, I think this is a good time just to stop and evaluate things. So in this video, I'm going to focus primarily on the structure of a garden, what makes a good garden, and focusing on the things that add interest in the depths of winter as well. Before we begin the video, just quick summary for those of you that haven't watched the channel before. We've been in this property since 2009, so everything you see, everything that's planted, all the structures have only been put in since we've lived here. Some of them have been put in sort of less than 10 years ago. The only existing structure here was this tree, this cherry tree, which has become a multi-stemmed tree, and we've kept it. It looks quite nice, but everything else you see has been planted by us in the last few years. The first thing to consider are the permanent structures. This can include buildings, trees, fences or pergolas. Does the garden have focal points to draw the eye? Is there enough height in the garden? In this garden we have used trellis to divide the width of the garden in two, obscuring the view and adding a sense of mystery and a need to explore. The garden is surrounded by boring fencing, so it's worth consider painting it to make it either stand out or recede according to your desired effect. Try growing things up the fencing, such as espaliered fruit like in the vegetable patch, or evergreen plants such as ceanothus or paracanthus to soften the view. Add obelisks to add height to a border. Here in the parterre we have used rustic metal obelisks, and in the bigger borders we have used large white wooden ones. Use garden buildings such as sheds, summer houses, greenhouses or pergolas to create a destination, a place to shelter from the weather or somewhere to sit and linger. We feel this part of the garden is lacking a bit of height, and we will be installing a summer house to this area soon. We would also like to build a pergola over the seating area someday soon too. The next thing to consider are the hedges. Hedges are great for adding a sense of strong visual structure all year round, but this is especially true in winter. Before our hedges were planted, our garden looked uninteresting and was just one big open space. They also make great windbreakers and give the garden protection from the worst of the winter weather. They provide invaluable shelter for birds and other wildlife. Hedges can be evergreen or deciduous. In this garden we have a mixture of the two. We have evergreen hedges in the form of lelandii, yew and box, but I think too much dark green would look a bit too much, so we've added some deciduous hedges too, including beech, hornbeam and lime. These give lovely autumn displays and also look so bright and fresh in the spring. The beech hedges hold on to their orange leaves all winter and so provide a lovely contrast to the green. The hornbeam and lime provide autumn colour, but by winter have lost their leaves. But because they have been bleached, the structural forms of the branches still look interesting in the winter months. The borders are the next consideration. In our garden we have lots of herbaceous perennials. Perennials, as we know, flower in the spring, summer and autumn, and then die back only to re-emerge the following year. This can result in quite a lot of bare areas during the winter period if they're all cut back after flowering. Up until about 5 years ago, I would rush in the autumn to get everything cut back before the harsh winter weather came. This sometimes meant cutting things back in the autumn when things actually still look quite good, and leaving the ground bare until spring. In recent years, we have heard of the advantages of leaving plants to die back naturally, and perhaps embracing what initially seemed like an untidier type of gardening. I've learnt to love this approach now for several reasons. It gives me more time to work through the garden at a more leisurely pace. I enjoy the interest in the garden all year round, and now love the fading blooms and seed heads almost as much as the flowers in their summer glory. I love seeing birds pecking at the seed heads and see field mice and insects enjoying them too. Best of all, the job of cutting back is made so much easier when the stalks are brown and brittle instead of green and difficult to cut. The borders continue to look good and interesting, especially from a distance when viewed from the house. Evergreen trees and shrubs are the other consideration, and there are lots to choose from. I will make another video about some of the best ones for a small garden, but in this video we will just focus on the effect that they can create. They add the anchor points of the garden and a sense of permanence. Many evergreens look especially good in the short days of winter, such as the red berries on the holly, and others have attributes such as nectar-rich flowers such as mahonias, daphnes or winter box. Our garden would perhaps benefit from more evergreen trees and shrubs. We have several shrubs in the woodland garden, but I particularly love the Portuguese laurels that give the sunken garden a strong structural look all year round. We have also used evergreen topiary all over the garden to punctuate entrances and provide focal points to the garden. Box, leyland cypress, yew and holly are some of the best and most popular evergreen tree varieties suitable for topiarising. And finally, consider the bare stem beauty of deciduous trees and shrubs. Long after the glorious autumn leaves have fallen, many deciduous trees and shrubs have other attributes that keep them looking interesting in the long winter months. Trees such as silver birches with their beautiful pure white trunks, dogwoods with their fiery red and yellow stems, or Acer griseum with its peeling chocolate bark are just a few. Follow the link to the video I did on the 10 best deciduous trees for your garden for lots of other ideas. I hope you found that video helpful, and I think we'll get back inside. I can see my nose turning blue, so and Murphy's a bit cold too, so we'll get back inside. It's really damp and cold, and we'll go and light the fire and perhaps do the Christmas decks. Thank you very much for watching, and join us again in the next video. Bye for now.